All right. Hey, I want to welcome you to today's show. Super excited about today's episode. We've got some phenomenal guests. They do not need any introduction, but we will give them an introduction because, of course, many of our listeners will know Jake and Gino from the fabulous podcast that they operate and the training programs that they operate. Again, just an incredible partnership and two gentlemen that are amazing. And I want to welcome you guys here to the show today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know our listeners are going to be blessed and really inspired by what you guys are doing and how they can learn from you. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Randy, for having us on.
Oh, for sure. Well, let's talk about how did you guys come together? Because, you guys make an incredible partnership. You're delivering dynamic results, not only on the podcast, but in the educational front, and then also in the multifamily asset front. But, that didn't happen overnight. So let's talk about how did you guys come together and why did you come together?
So it's 2009. I'm in my kitchen. I'm cooking a dish called Jake's Chicken. And I'm like, damn, I don't even have a dish on the restaurant menu that is named after Gino, right? Who's this Jake guy?
Dude, your name was on the restaurant. It said Gino's, all right?
But least have Gino's like gnocchi or something like that. No, this is Jake's Chicken. So Jake's Chicken was awesome. Grilled chicken, had a little bit of hot spice on top, a little paprika, a little bit of mixed herbs in there.
Cherry peppers, don't forget those bad boys.
Let me get to it, bro. Let me saute that garlic and oil first. Yeah, a little sauteed garlic and oil. You got some mushrooms in there. You got some peppers in there. You've got some zucchini in there, some hot cherry peppers. You lather that on top of the grilled chicken. And the reason why we made this dish is Jake would go out. He's a pharmaceutical rep. He'd go to doctor's offices before. This was around the Sunshine Act, around 2008, 2009. Things are starting to shift. He's going to these doctor's offices trying to sell. He's a legal drug dealer trying to sell pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, finally meet him. And I liked him right off the bat. A couple things that really stood out. And this is what I think everyone really needs to think about when they want to meet a partner. The expectations were there. I mean, when every time he came to the restaurant, he knew when he had to have his orders. He had a monthly schedule. He was the only pharmaceutical rep out there that could tell me, Gino, January 23rd, I need $300 worth of food going down to the Bronx. And it was January 5th. I'm like, this guy is prepared. He's motivated. And he's a really fun dude to be around. You really have to like your partner. If you don't like your partner, don't partner. It's as simple as that. I've seen him 3 hours today already out of 5, right? So that's just the reality of it. We're constantly talking. 2011 comes. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm like, Jake, where's Knoxville? Us New Yorkers really aren't that good with geography, right? So first time I heard of Knoxville, Tennessee, I open up computer. I look in, I see LoopNet, 30,000 a door. My eyes are bursting. I'm like, dude, this is a good market. When you get down there, let's talk about multifamily. So he gets down there, he goes down by himself, everybody. It's not easy. He went down by himself. His fiance was stuck up in New York for 6 months, went to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and he was just doing his gig down there. And we're looking for multifamily. I was the one who, had been mentored. I had gone through coaching programs. I had the experience with the underwriting, but he was the boots on the ground, and he was more than willing to say, hey, Gino, how do we do this? So we partnered. We both had the idea of I wanted passive income because I had a restaurant. I didn't want to fix and flip homes. And Jake and I could do this on the side. If we bought a 10 unit, we could still have our W-2 jobs, our business and W-2, and we could really do this on the side and scale it up. It took us 18 months to find that first deal because we didn't have credibility. We didn't have the Jake and Gino model. We didn't have buy right, manage right, and finance right. We didn't have the credibility. We didn't have a lot of the skill sets that we teach. But we still were resilient. We still wanted to make it happen. And after 18 months, we bought a 25-unit property. 3 months later, we bought a 36-unit property, the momentum. And then 6 months after that, we bought 136 units. So for me, the moral of the story is I was blessed to find him as a partner because I knew that he would be a hard worker. There's not a day that goes by that he says to me, I can't do it. I'm too busy. Never heard that out of his mouth. Works 7 days a week. He's relentless. He's tireless. He doesn't make excuses. And he's willing to grow. That's really important because what happens is, being willing to grow is being willing to, admit to mistakes, admit to finding a solution, admit to committing to it. And also when you look at it, what's made us successful, as we said in another show with you, Randy, it's staying in our lanes. Mm-hmm. It's really not complicating things and saying, Jake, Gino, we both want to really build wealth. We want to create generational wealth. We want to be able to refi these properties, buy additional properties. We don't want to do single family home. We don't want, as I joke around with Jake, do crypto. We want to really stay in the multifamily lane, really learn it really well, and expand the multiple different streams of businesses that we have for multifamily. I think that's what set us apart. And I think that's what's made us successful.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think, let me expand on that a little bit too, Randy, because I think so many people look at partnerships as this scary thing. And, oh, I've heard someone got in a partnership and this happened, or I had a bad partner and this happened. And the power of our partnership is not addition. It's not Jake brings this to the table plus Gino brings this to the table equals 2. This is multiplication. Okay. And here's the crazy thing. I have 0 units if I don't partner with this guy, and he's probably still doing duplexes if he doesn't partner with me. So don't be afraid of partnerships, but I want to open folks' eyes to the power of this vehicle, this crazy game that we're in called multifamily. Now, Gino mentioned that I was a pharmaceutical rep. I got into pharmaceuticals coming from a small town thinking that I won the lotto. Okay. I never thought I'd make 6 figures a year. I never thought I'd have a company car. And then the regulations started coming down with Obamacare, and it changed the game, not only for the pharmaceutical reps, but also for the doctors. At this same time, the leaders, in the economy, the doctors that were always put up on this pedestal were getting whacked, and they were having to join these medical groups because the reimbursements were getting cut. Mm-hmm. So you had folks that were entrepreneurs, had their own offices, being basically absorbed into W-2 positions. And I see this chaos happening all around me, thinking, what the hell? I made it, and now my world's crumbling around me. And they're telling me every year for a 3-year stretch, go sit by the phone and we'll let you know if you have a job or not, right at Christmas time. Come on. So the one outlier that really opened my eyes to this game was this Dr. Neshawat. He was the only doctor in that entire county that was not forced to join a medical group. I was calling on him, and I was saying to him, Dr. Neshi, what's going on here? All these other guys are worried about the reimbursements. They're joining these medical groups. What's going on? What's the difference? And this was the guy that was the most giving in society. He would volunteer with the firefighters. He was always donating money. And the difference was he had invested in real estate early on. Now, we talked to you a little while ago, and you were talking about house hacking. This is a guy coming out of medical school. His first house that he did, he house hacked it. And then he started buying assets year after year. And when everything came down and the reimbursement game changed, he was the guy left standing with his own private practice, living life on his terms. You want to talk about me being in my 20s and something making an impression on me, seeing everyone else get destroyed. And then Gino's telling me $30,000 sounds like a good deal for these apartments. That's where that fire was lit in my belly, because look, at any moment I could have been cut. And fortunately I was a high performer and they kept me on, but there was at any time my job was at risk. And so I'm so thankful and fortunate to be working with Gino, just an A player, performing in the multifamily space, driving the ship, being in control of our destiny, versus someone up, turning the keys over to some corporation and praying that, it'll work out, or like these poor doctors that, just got whacked in the medical group. So, I think there's these moments in life where, you can really, if you really look hard, you can see what makes sense and where you don't want to be. And that was enough for myself and Gino to take action.
Oh, so awesome. There's so many great nuggets in there too. I love too, like Gino, the evaluation for Jake. And that's one of the things I tell people all the time, actions don't lie, right? So when you're evaluating, you see the results or the actions, that's telling you the truth about who that person is, right? And so you look at Jake, and he was a performer, always on top of it. And then even too, you think about, like, as you're willing to make that move to go down there, there's sacrifice involved. You're, separating from your fiance. You're taking a 1-bedroom apartment, so you're making a wise move to keep costs down and to put the work in to begin to build this foundation. And that's so critical in any
let me
business.
expand on that a little bit. I was getting crazy. So I'm living in this little 1-bedroom apartment, didn't have any friends. I would go grind at work, and I'd go work out and look for apartment deals at night. And I was so isolated in this little box. I remember going to the grocery store, and because I had nothing else to do, I would time myself to see how efficient I could get my groceries. And I was spending $45 to $48 a week. And I was like, all right, I got to keep it here, keep the finances. But that's just because, look, my wife was up there. I didn't know anyone. So it started, it was tough. Look, things could have been a lot worse. I could have been homeless, yada, yada. But injecting yourself into a new area without your partner, is very challenging. But fortune sides with him who dares, and it was well worth it. And I would never trade it for the world. And I absolutely love the opportunity that East Tennessee has given myself and my family, and just I feel like the most blessed, fortunate human being alive. So.
Randy, let me share a story with you real quick.
I'm kind of worried about this one. I don't know where this is
going. Tell all.
It has nothing to do with CrossFit, nothing to do with crypto, nothing to do with multifamily. It really has to do with selecting a partner, right? I was shooting a video this morning for the Youth Academy, and it's, what can parents do and skills to learn. So one of the biggest skills you can teach your children is to be on time, because you're actually respecting someone else's time. And as my daughter is writing on the board for me, right, she says, wow, Dad, that means that you're so right about that. She says, I should have known. And I said, what are you talking about, Gabriella? She goes, Dad, I was working with this lady in the church, and she said, I went to her the first day. I got to her place. I sat in the car for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. 45 minutes later, she finally calls me and says, you know what? I'm stuck at the airport. I can't get back. So my daughter said, I should have known right then and there that lady didn't respect my time. And it was daunting. So with the partnership, when you have that gut feeling or you don't have that feeling, follow that feeling. And it was a great illuminating moment for me. So I said, Gabriella, not only is it for you to be on time, but it's also for your partner to be on time. And if your partner can't respect that, or you can't respect that, then you can't work with that person. And she said, you know what? A couple of the telltale signs after that. So when you get that feeling, you can do one of two things. You can challenge your partner and say, next time you're late, we're out. Or you can say, you know what, I can't do business with somebody. So you have the opportunity and you have the responsibility. Because my daughter, what she could have done was that very first time, she was only 18 years old at the time, she could have said, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm not going to work with this person anymore. She let it go on for a little while longer. So ultimately, we're responsible for our own actions. But by seeing that and by respecting that person's time, it really means a lot.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, the interesting thing about that is with partnerships, each business transaction, each deal should be its separate entity, because then every time there may be nuances, things may change. Every time it's a new relationship, it's a new marriage. And I think that's just a quick tip for everybody out there. You don't need to lump everything into one big pot. Every time that you do another deal or you do a different management company, Gino and I have over 25 entities that we manage together, but each time there's been a separate agreement, separate relationship created. And I think that's, definitely something for folks to follow.
And there's great wisdom in that too, because then it keeps you on your toes, so to speak, that everybody's operating not on what was been, but what we are continuing to create. And it keeps it where everybody's operating from the same page. I love too what you said. It reminds me of advice I got, good Lord, probably 25 years ago from a Pastor Charlie, when I was involved in the ministry. And he's like, Randy, look, if you've got cancer, meaning problems, he said, you got to cut it out quickly. You don't wait. And so just like as that, situation with your daughter, when you identify that, you hope it gets better. That's what most people do. And then it just grows, instead of having the courage or the gravitas to step up and say, look, hey, this is how I expect us to operate. This is what I see. And then now you see if that person responds. And like Jake, what you said earlier about being willing to grow, hey, yeah, you know what? That was a mistake on my part. I'm not going to, and then now you see whether that's going to work. And so I think it is, partnerships is key. I mean, we definitely have a lot of partners that invest with us. And, having the right people is critical, right? And that's so key. You want to make sure of that. And I think it's something that you may have mentioned earlier is like that it's not something that you undertake on your own. I look at like the doctor that you, Narwashi, that you referenced. Neshi. That it's like, look, he started off and was willing to do something different and beginning to move down this road of real estate. And, undoubtedly there was people that helped him, because that's what the nature of this business is. You don't do it alone. And the net result of that is because he was willing to do that, when the tide shifted, he was standing firm. And I see that a lot of times with people where, they want to come into this marketplace, they want to start investing, but gosh, I've only been in stocks, or I've only been in bonds, and I don't know, and I'm not sure. And it's like, you need to get the education, sure. But at the same time, there's got to be an element of knowing, hey, this is the outcome I want, and I'm willing to take those steps. And that's a beautiful story about you guys, both of you willing to take the steps to get where you wanted to be, so that you're here where you are today. That doesn't just happen by hoping or wishing or praying that maybe that comes about. It's being intentional like you guys have been.
Well, Randy, that also comes to with clarity, right? I think our relationship really escalated, really skyrocketed as I was going through life coaching. So I became a life coach, certified professional coach, not because I wanted to coach others, but I wanted personal development. And what life coaching taught me was, what is your why? And if you can figure out your why, you can figure out how to do it. I ultimately wanted to have my own business and a lifestyle. I wanted to leave New York. How do I leave New York and the restaurant business? Multifamily.
Yeah.
Great idea. Buy the assets, move down to Florida, and then from there, I can work with my family. So my family is key. I have 6 children. We homeschool our kids, so they're vital to me. So working at the restaurant 5 days a week, on the weekends, on Christmas, on New Year's, on Easter, it becomes a drudgery after a while. So everyone out there, I challenge you, think about what you want. Focus on what you're looking for. Don't focus on what you don't want. I was always focusing on, I don't want to be in the restaurant business. Well, that's not that's what you're going to get. What do you want to get? What are you focusing on? Ultimately, I figured it out through the clarity and through personal development that I just wanted to have a business where I could be anywhere that I wanted to, and that I could grow it, I could scale it, I could be proud, and ultimately I can include my family into the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Here's the truth of it. The multifamily is not rocket science. We're not going to sit here and try to paint it as this mysterious thing. I know we've talked to Randy before about his days in the financial planning world and things, and how they basically put things in Latin to mystify it and make people think it was over their head. Right? Here's the deal. Multifamily is not rocket science. The reason Gino and I continue to win is because we are responsibility junkies. We know we show up every day. We take full accountability for our actions, and we know why we're doing it. My biggest thing is I'm here to be a provider for my family, for my employees, and all the residents that we take care of. And we're very clear. You mentioned clarity. How do we do that? For our residents, our BHAG is to have an NPS score of 75 or greater. It's not to buy all the apartments in the world. It's to deliver a damn good product day in and day out to make the lives of our employees great. And I'm here to provide a life of abundance for myself and my family, period. That's it. And when you're a responsibility junkie and you take things that serious to that level, things work out for you.
So Jake, let's tell everyone what BHAG is. A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. You all want to set, those big, scary goals. And an NPS is a net promoter score. We're using top grading, and net promoter scores really hold you accountable. And, you don't only want to know when you're doing something right. You always learn when you're doing something wrong. I mean, I remember on our second property, it's Jake and I and my partner, Mike. He's got these nice Ferragamo shoes. We're talking like $300 shoes. They're nice loafers. We're walking around and he steps in dog crap. I'm like, oh, great. And Jake was trying to keep the property clean. He's got his shoes all dirty. That was a great learning lesson. Dog stations. And that's something that you have to know. You have to learn. You have to listen to your residents. You have to listen to your customers and shed the ego and try to grow from those experiences. And you will get better at this. It's hard in the beginning. It's hard to be responsible. It's hard to continue to take gut punches. But as you get more experience and as you grow in life, it's going to be easier. That level 3 problem of the mold is not even a problem anymore. The first couple, it's like the end of the world. Someone passes away in the apartment, or one of your units gets burned down. That's a really stressful, difficult, life-altering decision. But after you've done it once or twice, then it becomes commonplace.
Systematize the solution. It becomes another one of those. Right
another one of those.
I think it's interesting too for the listeners too. It's like being willing to be honest about where you're at, evaluating. Are you getting the results that you really want, and then being willing to make the changes. And some of those changes can be uncomfortable. But that's part of what a journey is about. Is starting where you're at, taking the steps necessary to move forward. And again, I was just talking to an investor, I think 2 days ago, and that was the thing. They're looking at beginning that journey. They're tired of paying so much taxes, and they've heard by a referral that, hey, multifamily's got great tax benefits, so I want to learn about that. And that's where it's like, okay, if you've been doing it this way for 20, 30 years, it may be a little uncomfortable as you've got to take some steps. You've got to learn some new things. You've got to, as Jake, you said, it's not rocket science, but you got to still at least be able to understand the pieces. And quite frankly, I know we talked about this before, is in that financial world, it is designed to be some mumbo jumbo where people just kind of blindly go, okay. And
Well,
so,
hey, the banks do it too. Like we deal with Fannie, Freddie, sometimes CMBS. They try the same bullshit, with the different terms and everything. And here's the thing. I don't mean that it's not rocket science that you shouldn't get educated. I'm very firm on the belief that to get in the game, to get that first deal done, that education times action will equal your results. Meaning that if you do educate yourself, you'll learn some of the different lingo, you work hard, you put in the offers, you know how to underwrite, that will get you in the game. From there, though, it is a business and it comes down to people, systems, and culture. That's I'm very firm on that. But
sure, it is. Well, in anything, and too, and I talk a lot of times in our show too, because we've got doctors, attorneys, whatever, different people, plumbers listening to us. And it's like this applies to every business. Even if you're a doctor running a practice, it's like you're setting up systems, you're setting up processes so that the employees or the team members are carrying that out. It's just, I love what you said about a fire, right? It's like, okay, I just told that to a team members here today about an insurance claim. We had a new team member that was added. We had a team meeting. I'm like, look, here's part of the process that you need to incorporate into that process, because undoubtedly there'll be a claim again in the future on something, on one property or another, and you need to make sure you understand the process. And that rule of thumb applies to everything. And again, now that's not sexy. People don't look at that and go, wow, that's amazing. But it's what generates the amazing results. When we look at you guys have had amazing results through your partnership, through the efforts you've put in, but it's a result of that discipline, putting that efforts in. And so that's where I think our folks can benefit from that as they evaluate their own business. What processes are lacking? What do they need to do? What do they need to change? And what maybe is it that you need to bring in somebody, right? Because maybe that's not their thing, but just like you two came together, that's an ability to bring somebody in to be a help to you to, work in the area maybe that they're not strongest in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's sexy, Randy? You know what's so sexy in multifamily?
What's that?
Keeping it boring.
Exactly.
Keeping it boring with damn good systems and a well-oiled machine. That is the sexiest thing in multifamily. I'm telling you. Do you just want? Keep it boring, day in and day out. Do what you're supposed to do. Let's get the returns. Let's take care of folks. That to me is sexy. I don't like the highs and the lows and the lead ups. Let's put the systems into place to manage the machine.
For sure, it is. It's and that's the thing. Creating wealth, managing wealth. It is not a sexy thing. It is done in a disciplined way with mitigating risk, doing basically the same things day after day by design, right? You're doing the successful things day after day. I love it, really. For me, I get pumped up on it. I'm not a high and low junkie guy. It's like I love the outcome. I love producing the result. And
that's why the shiny object syndrome kills so many people. That one day they're at the Bitcoin, the next day they're over here fixing and flipping, the next time they're
No, you've nailed it. Like I've talked to investors that come in, they were over here in oil and it's a high flyer, and then they got their total ass kicked and lost money. Or, oh, hey, we're over here and I know Bob's making money in this, and so I'm going to do that. And then, it was good for a bit and then lost money, or like the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency thing. And it's like, that's not the pathway to get where you want to go. It's through a systematic approach, developing a process that's going to be carried out over time, and then sticking with a working, winning formula week after week, month after month, year after year.
The right vehicle that's a basic human need.
That's right there. I mean, people have to have a place to sleep at night, right? And I know you guys, just like us, provide quality, affordable housing for working Americans, right? And that's the reality of, like, people need a good quality place for their family and them to live at. And that's not going to go away.
You bring up something so cool, because actually the attorney from our title company came out to one of our events 2 weeks ago, and she's like, can I bring my son? And he's going to business school. And she said there were so many teachable moments for him at the event. And she said that she was pulling over at different stops. We were going and visiting our properties. And she said she had so many teachable moments to him, and explaining how the economy works. And, hey, there's people that work at this factory that this is their home, and it's important for these folks to keep up with that and make sure it's a nice place to live. And that's, where a lot of their funds are going. And she said that he, for his last year in business school, he got more out of that day at our money mixer than the entire year. So that means a lot to us, because when we were able to get folks in the community and influence them in a positive way like that and open their eyes, that was probably the most rewarding piece of that event.
Well, I love too what Gino, you said earlier too about your involvement in the kids. My daughter's 16, she works in the company, and then you've got your attorney with their son. It's like the young people, it's like if they can get a hold of these principles at a young age, it's like what a game changer. Because
Yeah.
this country where we're at, and I tell this to people all the time, it's like the real estate that we work with, you can't build it for cost of construction, so there's a limited supply of that type of product. You've got an ever-growing demographic demand. And so, just basic economics puts that to be a great area to be in, because you're serving a growing demand with a limited supply. It's going to mean that what you have is valuable, and you have the opportunity to benefit a quality or working class of America that's only getting bigger and bigger as the years goes ahead. And so for my daughter, for your attorney's son, for your kids, what a phenomenal place to start learning. And so how is it that you guys, what additionally are you guys doing to try to spread that information? I know you're doing it with your kids, and is there an intention that happens also within the education part too?
I just had the epiphany about 6 months ago to create a youth academy, because a lot of the students who are with us, a lot of the members are like, you know what, this is great. Where can I learn how to teach my kids? And I don't want to say I'm a disciple of Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey is got some great information. I just think he stops. And when I hear cut up the credit cards, where we're going to a cashless society, whether we like it or not, it's happening. So we need to teach our young adults the difference between good debt and bad debt.
For sure.
The difference to really utilize credit cards. I like a sinking fund. Why don't we teach our children a sinking fund? You want to buy that chair right there? It's going to cost you $100. I got $20, 5 months, $100 in an envelope. Let's save our money. Teaching our kids about delayed gratification, teaching our kids the difference about personal debt and business debt, teaching our kids on how to invest, teaching our kids on what 3 types of investors, what they're looking for: leverage, liquidity, control, whatever that may be. We need to teach our youth, and we need to, really, what's the word? Really empower them, because the schools aren't doing it.
Oh.
And a lot of the parents don't know where to start. And get back to Dave Ramsey. He has some great mantras, great models. Let's set up an emergency fund. Let's do some budgeting. Let's get 3 to 6 months saved. And you know what? If you did that, you're probably having not such a rough time during this pandemic, right? You can get through it. But most people don't have that. They don't have that to start with. But that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning of the conversation. I want to start it there, but I bring it into personal development also. We have a lot of things of what parents can do, skills to learn. There's so many different things that we need to teach our kids. I mean, you're a 23-year-old. How do you rent your first apartment? We teach kids how to do that. How do you house hack? Since I know, Randy, you invented the house hack and the BRR, right? How do you do that as a 25-year-old? There's a lot of information there, whether you're going for a VA loan, FHA loan, a lot of different moving parts. So my goal and my mission is, I always tell people with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. That's the bottom line. So if we're more financially intelligent, it has nothing to do with race or class. It has to do with the financial intelligence. Those who have more financial intelligence are going to weather the storm and are going to be empowered. Those who have it are going to be more wealthier than those who don't. And I ultimately say, it's not just about money. People think, hey, it's about money. Because if all you have, we say, Jake and Gino, to people, some people are so poor, all they have is money. If you really think about that, that's not what we're only working for. Not only working for money, we're working for wealth. We're working for the ability to become stewards of our own money. We're the ability to control it, the ability to donate it, the ability to make an impact with it. Okay. So that's ultimately, as an entrepreneur. And people who are poor mentally, I'm not talking about like the money wise, but poor mentally, all they focus on is money. Jake and I, we're beyond that. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I'm not thinking to myself, hey, when's my next cash flow check coming in? I'm thinking about what's the next video I'm going to create to add value to people. And that's what's the next?
It's like clockwork coming in the first every month, right?
Well, that's what it is. But we've built up to that, right? So it's ironic that, when you're poor, all you focus on is money. And when you become wealthy, you become financially free, that's not your first or second thought. That's maybe your third or fourth thought, because the more value you give to people and the more you give of yourself, you're going to get that much more back.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that, because the education piece is very interesting. We're a vertically integrated group. We have property management in-house, asset management. We have a mortgage company. We have a charitable arm, Rand Cares. But the interesting thing about the education piece to it, we just love how everything works together, was that we thought we were going to, put out these products. We have, an LMS system where people can go on and learn, and we have weekly classes that we teach. But our folks actually it's some of the live events that make the biggest impact. We'll bring folks together, whether it's a weekend boot camp or we have money mixers, and they create partnerships and they come together. And in the last 2 years, I think our folks have closed over 7,000 doors working together. And so it's that kind of stuff that I just, because it was new back, when we started this thing, I thought it was just, hey, we'll teach people to go and do it. But no, it's multifamily is a team sport. And when folks come together and one person may be strong in the underwriting, one person finds deals, or one person, maybe have a good network to raise money, that's when the magic really happens. And that's one of the things that we love about the community.
For sure. It's well, and I think it is, no doubt, it is when you're working in this space of real estate, it is a team sport. You've got to have the right people around you. You've got to be willing to admit where you need help at. I mean, I have mentors in my life that I rely on and continue as I grow. People that I connect together with, people that have grown 25,000 unit portfolios, and Tony Robbins, other personal mentors as well. That it's like, that's part of our life journey, is to keep growing.
Yes.
And no matter what stage you're at. I remember a friend of mine ran one of John Maxwell's company and had the blessing of being a part of his group and meeting him. And he said something so profound. If you just set this, goal about making money at X dollars, you get there and that's it. But if your goal is to become better every day, you can continue to pursue that goal till you're 80, 90 years old. His dad just passed away at like 98 years old, or 93 maybe, I think. And, that's the truth. It's like you can grow and become better, become a better operator, a better father, a better husband. That metric, delivering more value, like you said, Gino, it's like it's there, and you can start that at any place, right? So you don't have to that's what's it's so odd. Like what you said is so true. It's like when people are moving to accumulate money, a lot of times their focus is just on the money. But as you accumulate wealth, it's really not. It's about delivering value. And it's like, the truth is, the sooner you focus on delivering value, the sooner that comes back to you. And it's like, that's a biblical principle: give and it shall be given to you. I know a lot of people heard that in Sunday school and they're like, that's screw that, right?
You got to see it first, right?
Yeah, it's like, you heard it in Sunday school and you're like, it doesn't work, whatever, but it's just real. The more you give and deliver value to help people like you guys have done, the more comes back to you. I mean, that's just the truth. And I've seen that time and time again in our businesses and all the people we've helped as well.
But it's also become this beacon for like-minded investors too. That's the thing that's really struck me, is that like some of the people come together and it's I don't want to call it a love fest, but man, it's a good time, man. So
well, it's phenomenal. I think of a doctor we've got that invests with us. His plan, the financial planner plan, was spend your money, die by 90, and you're good, right? And so he's like, oh my God. And he had a decent amount of money, but not enough, right? And then by switching over into the real estate and the returns and the tax savings, it set him and his wife free. And now they're able to support like a Boy Scout camp down the road that they're financially supporting to keep it open. They also support a orphanage like in Chile, and they go down there, and so they have these resources now because of the changes they've made to make a greater impact. And they're also able to then have a legacy financially for their kids versus the A.G. Edwards or, Fidelity broker that says, hey, just spend down and hopefully you die. Average life expectancy is 87. You got enough to live to your 90. If you live past 90, you're screwed, right? It's like, that was not a good plan. And so that motivated them to make a change. And then what we do is now rippling effect to affect the Boy Scouts and the orphanage and their church where they're tithing and giving. I mean, it's just, like what you guys are doing, how much more ripple effect does that have, right?
Well, and Randy, the problem with the A.G. Edwards' model is it's the scarcity mindset. Really, you're just saving for a rainy day, whereas I think the entrepreneur or the abundance mindset really sets it apart, where you're accumulating assets and you let those assets pay for your lifestyle. And, maybe 5 to 10% of the people can think like that, but we can all think like that. We're just tuned in to the middle-class mentality. That's what I was. I have 6 kids. How am I going to pay for 6 kids' college education? Well, start 6 buckets and start saving for that. You don't save for an event. You buy an asset to save for an event. And, I'm going to give everyone out there a tip about goal setting. I've set a lot of goals. I've hit a lot of goals. I think when we look at a goal, just look at a goal and look in the sky and think of it as a result. You want to buy your first deal. That's the result. Don't worry about the results so much as worry about the person you need to grow into to get that result. There's the key, because you're gonna have to put on a lot of muscles, and you're gonna have to fall in love with that system to do that, or the process. And the process is not rocket science, like Jake likes to say, but it's underwriting 80 deals. It's doing property tours. It's networking with brokers. If you fall in love with that, you're going to blow through that first goal and go to the 30th goal. And as you continue to stack on goals, you continue to become a better person, a smarter person, and you continue to grow. So always think about that growth mindset, and don't worry so much about the goal, because you will hit it, because your results are a lagging indicator of success, because it takes you a lot longer to figure out and to hit that goal. But then the amazing thing is the snowball effect. Once you hit that and you've done it 3 or 4 or 5 years, all of a sudden the snowball starts to really accumulate, and then you just got to continue setting more goals and continue to grow into that person that you want to grow into.
I love what you just said about the lag indicator. I was just telling one of our team members about that. It's like, focus on the lead indicator, the thing you can control. Focus on the daily, contribution of what you're able to do. His was in acquisition stuff, but it's like, and I was telling him, it's like, look, if I define my success on, oh, we got this deal, it's like, I'm going to have a lot of unsuccessful days.
That's right.
Right. It's like, I can define my success by, how I'm empowering my team members. And I ask him, what do you see me doing on like Mondays and Tuesdays? He's like, well, looks like most of your days are meetings and empowerment for different team members. I'm like, exactly right. I'm meeting with people, holding accountabilities, empowering people. And then I can define it. My daughter, when I come home, she's like, did you have a good day? I'm like, hey, praise the Lord, I had a great day, because I did this, this, and this, and this. And so I think that's something that people, such a valuable point. Focus on what you can control, putting those work efforts in, putting those lead indicators in, and you're going to hit there. Well, so for the folks that are listening, what's the best way for you guys for them to get in touch with you, to contact you, connect together with you?
Easiest way, go to Jake and, it's A-N-D, jakeandgino.com/honeybee. That's the book you see right behind me. We got some free resources. One of the ways that we got into our first deal was something called a credibility kit. And we're actually going to give away for any of your listeners a free copy of the credibility kit. And it's basically your business plan, and allows you to showcase that to brokers, investors, whatever you may have, on what you're doing. And it was probably the biggest thing that took us from that 18 months of not getting any deals to, allowing us the door to open and getting in the game. And, Gino had some other great resources there. You can check out our podcast, apply to work with our team at jakeandgino.com/honeybee.
Awesome. Awesome. What would you say, closing remarks to our folks, just a word of wisdom, word of encouragement?
Well, real quick, Randy, let me hit this first, Jake. 2008 was my pandemic. 38 years old, 5 kids. Dad had just passed away. I worked with my dad for over 20 years, and I loved what I did. But I ultimately said, am I building his dream or am I building my dream? And it felt like I was building his dream. I've been doing it for 20 years. So I use that problem as a massive opportunity for myself to look within and say, what do I want? Where's the clarity in my life? And that's where we are right now for a lot of people. And 2020 is a scary time. It's a time where there might not be hope for people out there. Just look within. Look at this as the problem. Where's the opportunity? Be able to reevaluate your life. What skills do you want to learn? We can learn anything nowadays. We can stay home. We can do this online learning. We can really empower ourselves. So start asking yourself, are you building your own dream? And if you're not building your own dream, what does it take to build your own dream? The second question you should ask yourself, where do you see yourself in 3 years if you're going to be professionally and financially, successful? For me, within 3 years, if I can give away 1,000 scholarships to the Jake and Gino Youth Academy, that's a successful 3 years, right? The second thing for me, within 3 years, no number of units, just to continue to run a great portfolio and continue to have a great staff, and also to just continue to love what I do. Maybe another 2 million downloads on the podcast would be great within the next 3 years, hopefully more, but really reevaluate your life and see what you need to do to get there within the next 3 years, and deconstruct it and reverse engineer it and see what it looks like today. But don't lose hope, because this pandemic will pass just like 2008 did. A lot of great stuff came out of it from me. And I'm sure if you reevaluate your life and think about what you want to accomplish in the next 3 years, it's all achievable.
Awesome. Jake, words of wisdom, closing inspiration.
The vehicle versus the passion. So many of us got caught up in, if you follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life, blah, 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 right? And I think the problem with that is I tried that. I was, grew up in a small town, played sports, so I thought I was going to become a gym teacher. It was miserable. From there, I went on and I started to, do personal training, because I'm like, oh, I love being in the gym. people whined, oh, Jake, you're pushing me too hard, blah, blah, blah. Still felt like a babysitter. That didn't work for me personally. It may work for you, but I think if you pick the right vehicle in life, you execute it, you get damn good at it, it allows you to create a life of abundance for yourself and your family. And that's when things start to get interesting. That's when things start to get fun. So, hey, multifamily might not be the right vehicle for you. We love it because there's, vertical integration. There's businesses within the businesses, stacked on stacked on stacked. Look, it's a great spot from a tax perspective. We love multifamily. It's the right vehicle for us, and we execute very well at it. That's why we love it, and it basically provides for ourselves, our families, our residents, and our employees. So
love it, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it's been a big blessing for our listeners here today, and look forward to having you guys back on again in the future. Thank you so much, and just really appreciate you guys, and thank you to our listeners here today as well.
Thanks, Randy. Take care, everyone.